right, welcome back to the Beach Chair Chats. Brian here today. It's a beautiful day, finally. Feels like fall in New England, but it's not. It's still summer, so it's holding on. I have a great guest here who's a multi-time marathoner, 17, I believe, podcasts for himself, and just outstanding, awesome resume for what he does. Mike Brydges, how are you today, Mike?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. Did you go run this morning? First question.
Not yet. I'm actually a terrible early morning runner. I'm more of a either an afternoon or I'm notorious for being a late night runner.
Okay. Well, hey, it works, right? I see. I'm the morning guy because if I don't do in the morning, it's never gonna happen, right? And so when I have a sit down job like this, I sit down in my office all day when I might have dead legs. By the time I get home, the last thing I want to do is like I'm gonna go put my shoes on. But
Very true. Very true.
so talk about your running journey, right? Did you always see yourself as a runner, or has it always
No,
been the thing?
no, actually, I grew up. I tell people all this all the time. I grew up the kind of the antithesis of somebody who likes sports. I didn't like them at all. I think I'd done like maybe a little league season or two of baseball, and then I think I did one small season of soccer. But other than that, I was an arts and music guy. I played musical instruments throughout middle and high school, and then did theater. Actually moved to New York City for college initially because I wanted to be a playwright.
Nice.
And then obviously that just never worked out. And it just like never, I just couldn't see the like why people like sports so much. Now I get it because
Yeah,
now I know why people watch sports because of just everything that's going on in the world right now. It's so easy to distract ourselves from
it's
it.
the one
But
positive thing, right? I guess.
exactly. But I didn't get into running until I had like a cascading amount of events pile on top of each other that made me realize that I needed to make a change in my life or else things were not going to go in a good direction.
Hmm.
So it all started in 2018 where I've always kind of suffered with mental health issues, massive depression issues and anxiety through the roof my entire life, PTSD, what have you, things like that. And it had kind of culminated up and up and up over the last year or two with me at the beginning of 2018 taking my life or trying to take my life. I apologize.
Okay.
Trying to take my life. And I got out of the hospital and then I thought that that was kind of going to be the worst of it. And I started to work on myself in therapy over time. But I had my girlfriend of 3 years break up with me who I thought I was going to marry. And after that, I lost an uncle of mine who was like a father to me. I grew up
Mm.
without one, raised in a single family household, so losing him was a really big detriment to me. And he also was the first person in my family to ever teach me that having some sort of mental health issue that you need to have taken care of does not mean that there's something wrong with you. He suffered with it himself, and everybody else in my family kind of just brushed it under the rug except for him. And then after that, I found out a few months later at the beginning of the summer that I needed to have a major surgery in order to stave off cancer, and that if I didn't get it done pretty quickly, it was going to be, it could lead to something that would be very bad. And it was a major surgery. It was multiple hours of it, and it was probably some of the most debilitating recovery pain I've ever had in my life that I wouldn't wish on anybody. And it failed. And so I needed to have surgeries for the rest of 2018, consistently about every 2 weeks to make sure that this didn't happen. And so, before work, I would go in right when they open, have the surgery, and then have to make my way over to work and try to act like everything was fine.
Hmm.
And what really culminated in me starting to run was going to a primary doctor for the first time in about 4-ish years. I can't remember how long it had been, but I had been having these really bad migraines that were just so debilitating. I
Hmm.
was vomiting. I was so sensitive to light. I wasn't able to really do anything. And so we tried to find out what was happening, and we discovered my blood pressure was like high hypertension too.
Hmm.
And he did all of the tests that you can name under the sun to try to find out what was happening. Because I just turned 30. He was like, there's no reason really for you to be put on medication because you're so young and all this stuff. And we came to find out that it just is hereditary. My entire family has high blood pressure. And he told me that if I didn't start taking care of myself and taking care of my body and eating better, that I would have a massive heart attack or a stroke and I would die. And those actually run on the male side of my family.
Hmm.
I had One uncle passed away, and then the uncle who passed away in 2018, he actually had a stroke the year before. And so I knew that that was definitely like something on my horizon if I didn't start to do something. So I gravitated towards running because I was afraid of being judged at the gym for lifting weights because I was, about 60 pounds heavier than I am now
Hmm.
and had no body strength. I mean, I had no cardiovascular ability either, but I definitely didn't want to be the kind of person who would be looked at and stared at and judged at the gym, which now that I've worked out for a significant amount of time, I realize that people actually don't care what you look like. They
Hmm.
just worry about themselves.
Yes.
But back then, I was very self-conscious. And so I set out for the goal of just being able to run for 20 minutes without stopping on the treadmill. And because that's when you push start, that's just what it did automatically. So I was like, if I can do this, that means that I've made progress.
Hmm.
That took me a couple months because I could only run for probably about 15 to 20 seconds at a time. And eventually when I hit that goal, I started to say, okay, well, how far can I go? What else am I capable of? And that somehow, led to me running 5Ks, 10Ks, 15Ks on the treadmill, discovering half marathons outside, and then discovering road racing, and then New York Road Runners,
Hmm.
qualifying for the New York City Marathon in 2020, which then became 2021, and then it just somehow has exploded from there.
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm thankful you're still here. So I'm glad all that didn't happen and you've got in your story, right? It is like it's symbolic of a marathon, right? You've done
Yes.
them, it's people say it's not a sprint. It's not. It's 26 agonizing miles. There's good parts, there's bad parts. The training, some days you have good days, some days you have bad days. You have people that come into the sphere to help train with just like life, right? And you've been through a lot, going through potential cancer treatments, heart issues, depression, anxiety, right? And now you're here, right? It's like that finish line when you finish your first marathon. It's a paramount of experience. So kind of talk about that when you did your first one, and we'll kind of talk more about what you've gone through and how it might correlate together. How did you feel when you finish your first one?
I thought I was broken. I joke with people like I love posting the pictures because they're so bad. Like
Hmm.
there's one picture where my arms are out. It's literally right at the finish line. My arms are out. I'm like looking up at the sky. I'm just sobbing, and I tell people I look like the poster for the movie Platoon. Like I look
Okay.
like I'm getting shot from behind. I look like I'm completely dreading the fact that I had done this and that I literally finished the race thinking my feet were broken.
Yeah.
I had gone into that race like not completely blind, but I didn't really have a training plan. I didn't do my research on nutrition, hydration, shoes specifically. I definitely just went with what everybody else was using.
Hmm.
And you know, I think my longest run was about 17 miles, maybe 15 miles. I can't remember.
Hmm.
And so the majority of the race was, brand new ground for me in terms
Hmm.
of a distance. And I tried to make it a goal to run without stopping. I had to stop a couple times just to like stretch, but I crossed that finish line. Just I remember seeing it and being like, I can't believe I just did this. This is ridiculous. And then also feeling like not only I can't believe I finished this, but also how did 26 miles pass me?
Hmm.
Because it doesn't feel like that's happened. And then also as after I crossed the finish line and I finally got a moment to not run, I was like, I can't believe I just accomplished this.
Hmm.
Like this was something that I had worked for uh like 2.5 years on.
Hmm.
And it was such a momentous like moment for me. I was speechless and was just so proud of myself for what I've been able to accomplish. And I have a lot of issues with feeling proud of myself. I have a lot of
Hmm.
imposter syndrome and beat myself up a lot about what I could have done better, or this and that and the other thing, which I did do. I set out with a goal. I didn't hit it, but I tried to just remind myself that not everybody runs 26.2 miles. It's okay. And after that period of time, I actually realized, it's uh, what else can I do?
Hmm.
I had discovered the World Marathon Majors either just before or just after I ran New York. I heard people talking about them. And so I decided to just put my name in the hat for Berlin like right after New York.
Hmm.
And that's also kind of what like started my journey on the World Marathon Majors was because I got in for 2022. I found out in it was either December or January, I can't remember. And I realized, oh, I guess now I gotta do this. But finishing that first marathon was just a I was like so many emotions wrapped up in one of so much pride and happiness for what I've been able to succeed at, but also like when I look back on it now, I'm like, man, you are an idiot in some sense because you just like you went into this. I warn people all the time about running marathons without with being undertrained and underfueled
Hmm.
and all this thing. I went and doing all of that, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but I had to learn somewhere, and I'm glad that I did because it's made me a better runner for who I am today.
I think about my first marathon too, and I think it was like 4 hours and 45 minutes. I had no idea. A friend of mine that I went to church was like, "Hey, why didn't you come down to the YMCA?" Is like, "Sure, why not?" I was like you, right? I played sports, but I didn't like the whole distance running. I was a heavier guy at one point too, and out of shape, so I usually get like annoyed. Like, I want to go get my fast food at Burger King. I have to wait for these runners to go by.
Oh,
Why do I have to do this? Where they have to, roads closed by the police. I'm like, this is a bunch of crap, right? Stupid. Then fast forward, you become one of them, right?
yeah,
And but the journey itself, right? The emotions that come with finishing one of these things, the first one for sure, because it is a monumental thing. To do it no matter how long it takes, it's a monumental thing to go 26.2. You can't forget the point two
nope,
miles, which is the hardest part sometimes. But all the things you've gone through, right? You think about the hurdles, the obstacles, the challenges, the adversities you've gone through, with mental health and anxiety and or mental health and depression, um, potential cancer, heart issues. These things are huge life things that could have gone one way or the other, right?
yeah,
But you've gone through that. And you got to the marathon. So talk about support, because one thing about distance running is it's not just a thing you do alone, right?
yes.
And you created a community too about inclusion and belongingness too. So talk about the support, how it relates to what you went through personally, but also with the marathon itself.
Yeah, so 2018 was a really crazy year for me because I didn't really have many friends, coming out of my attempt. Most of what I had done in the past relationships is made my partner's friends my friends. And then, of
Hmm.
course, if the relationship ends, they're gone and I no longer have them as friends. And so I got out of the hospital and just one thing that people don't really know about me is I'm a classically trained singer and I love karaoke.
Okay.
So, living in New York City, I would go to karaoke bars all the time and would sing all the time at them. And I had discovered this one that was in Koreatown that I really liked because I don't like the ones where you go in and you rent a room. I like the ones that have a big, like open bar where people can sing and have
Hmm.
fun and things. And I happened to walk in at a moment where they were about to begin a karaoke league. And
Okay.
the guy who was the bartender there had known me a little bit. He had seen me here and there come in. He knew that I was a good singer and he, was like, he wants to join the league. And I was like very timid at the time. Like, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was very quiet. And I ended up going to a mixer that they had for it. And I'll never forget this. I was standing there listening to this guy sing. It was such a heartbreaking song he was singing. It was full of emotion. And I was just like, I literally sat there. And the woman who was running it, I said, wow, he sounds incredible. And she goes, hold on for a second, brings him up. She goes, Mike, this is Chris. Chris, this is Mike. You guys are on the same team. You're going to become best friends. We are brothers now. Like
Nice.
I contribute a lot of my recovery and the things that I've been able to do to get better as a person over the last couple of years as being because of him. He
Nice.
helped me see what was possible if you had a clearer mindset and more positive mindset and actually work towards your goals and push through the discomfort. He was a former Marine. He was trying to become at the time an amateur bodybuilder, and he was, jacked as hell. And when you hugged him, it was like straight muscle.
Hmm.
And he was still one of the nicest, sweetest people you would ever come in contact with. So polite, so nice, and but we understood each other's humor and we understood just kind of we both came from some sort of traumatic childhood background, so we were able to kind of bond over that. But then at the same time, I met other people that were in the group that did the karaoke league, and we've all become this. tight-knit group of friends.
Nice.
And it's really difficult to make new friends when you're like 30 years old. And somehow I made the greatest friends I've ever met at that age. And so I had those people to really help. The way that I describe it is they loved me until I was able to find a way to somehow love myself during that period of time, because I was honest to an extent about some of the things that had happened to me, and so they were, really understanding about it, and they understood kind of what I needed at the time without me even really knowing what I needed to. But Chris was a huge proponent on me really wanting to continue to run and push my running journey, because I remember coming up to him in 2018 and I just said to him, I want what you have, because he had exceeded this like aura of just confidence and positivity. And I was like, you know what? I'm a brooding guy who is very depressed, who is very
Mhm.
sad all the time. And I knew I didn't want to be like that. And I wanted to be like him. And he just said to me, you can do it. All it does is just requires a shift in your mindset. And that never left me. It kind of it stuck in me, planted a seed. And over the next year when I started discover running, he was probably one of the biggest supporters that I had. He would when I qualified for the New York City the first time, he came to almost every single one of my races, which was sometimes they started at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning
Mhm.
in Central Park, and he would be all the way down in Southern Brooklyn. So that would be like over an hour train ride for him to get up there, and he would still come. He would be
Nice.
there. He would take pictures of me, record me crossing the finish line. Like then we go out to breakfast. Like it was fantastic, and I don't think I would have been able to really get through a lot of those without knowing that I had his support. But then at the same time in 2019, which was I think it was a couple weeks actually before I completed my first race with New York Road Runners to qualify for New York City, I met my now wife,
Mhm.
Emily, and we had we had been talking back and forth online. She lived in Florida, I lived in New York, but she had a sister who lived in Jersey City, so she was up visiting. We decided to meet up, and we just kind of hit it off immediately and decided to do long distance. And she has been probably my rock and my biggest supporter
Mhm.
when it comes to my running. Besides someone like my grandma, who has been ever since I started running, she's been just kind of like in awe of the fact that I can do this. And she passed away in 2023, but I remember we would talk before every marathon. We would talk before, after every marathon. She would ask me questions about them. She would always comment on every post that I made about running, just saying how proud she was of me. But now with Emily, like we've traveled the world together.
Mhm.
Like we've gone to Europe multiple times, we've gone to Tokyo multiple times, we've traveled America, and she's been there minus, I think, one marathon.
Mhm.
She's been there at every single marathon I've been in, and the reason she wasn't there last year at Boston was because that actually was the day where we were supposed to be doing our first embryo transfer for
Okay.
IVF, and she wanted me to go still, and um, so she's been there. She has videos of me, pictures of me at the finish line. I always blow her a kiss when I get towards her near the finish line. That's our thing. And she's always been the person who has my back when it comes to my running. And there are many days, and you could probably attest to this too, many days where I don't feel like I can do it. I
Mhm.
get I get stressed out leading up to race day. She can definitely tell when that's happening. And she always reminds me either before or after the race. I told you you could do it. Like I'll be able to finish it and I'll get whatever time I get, and she'll be like, you thought that you couldn't do it, but here you are now with your medal. And she's been, a massive amount of breath of fresh air. But I think between her and Chris, my best friend, who's currently over in Poland, deployed overseas in the army, and my grandma, I think that those are probably the three people that supported me the most and provided me a lot of the hands on my back whenever I feel like I
Mhm.
couldn't go forward. But then also just being able to find my friends, they helped me find myself. I don't think I would have been able to be the runner that I am today without having my friends in my life now. They really brought out kind of the person that was in me that I didn't know was in me, and helped shape me into just like not the runner that I am today, but the person that ended up becoming that runner.
And that's a beautiful part too, because this life, right? Life and marathons, again, like going back to that comparison is very similar because it is a long thing. And having your wife and having your friend in your corner, helping you become not only just the runner you are and pushing you, but getting yourself to believe in yourself, but also becoming the man you are now, overcoming adversity. probably had bad races. You probably had marathons that didn't go as planned. We all do. You still finish them because you don't want that DNF ever. Because we have runners have pride. Okay, we're gonna crawl
Oh
across
yeah.
that finish line, and I have stories too. But you finish it right, and you do it, and you just still and you enjoy that sense of accomplishment, even though it's brutally awful to do. But the people that are even in that race with you as well, they all have goals. They all
Mhm.
have people in their corners. You see them on the sidelines with their family, their signs, all cheering people on. It's just what life is. And there's always
Yep.
going to be that. And everyone's going through their own journey through that whole race. And the reasons they do that is their own personal thing. So anytime anybody crosses that finish line, even the elite runners who are like flying super fast and breaking world records still have that sense of pride to do it in all the parts that come with that journey, right?
Yep.
So fast forward to today, right? You're a coach yourself, where you find yourself giving it back. Do you see people that you're working with kind of having that same story that you had?
Yeah, I have a couple people that I coach that have a number of different reasons for running, and each one becomes kind of like a reason why I run now. I've got somebody who just went through, breast cancer treatment, diagnosis, reconstruction. They're running the New York City Marathon, and um, I see them all the time making progress with their runs, and just when I would meet with them and we would discuss everything, I would just be in awe of just not only are you doing this, but you're raising a family, you're starting a business, you're traveling the world with your family, and it's just you know it one of the reasons I got into running and especially now coaching runners is to showcase the resilience part. I think that that's probably the number one word that is required of all distance runners because as you pointed out there are so many times at least 100 to 200 times in your head during any given moment during a race where your mind will try to tell you to stop
Hmm.
and having the heart and having the spirit to continue to keep pushing through those alarm bells that are trying to tell you, you're not strong enough, you can't do this. What did you do? Why did you sign up for this? And getting to that finish line is one of the reasons I keep coming back because I have proven myself wrong time and time again. But now being able to see other people do that too.
Hmm.
I've trained somebody from their first half marathon last year to their first marathon this year. And it was not an easy marathon. It's the Paris Marathon, which is known for its elevation.
Hmm.
And they still did, for their first marathon, a great time. And they were not, and one of the things I always try to strive for with my athletes is you finish smart. You can finish fast if you want, but you're not going to probably finish feeling great. And so being able to find that balance is, I think, really important. And so if they're able to cross that finish line and hopefully not have to go to the med tent or they don't feel like they're dehydrated or they don't feel like they are starving or they're cramped and things like that, that's a win for me
Hmm.
because it means that they followed kind of the plan that we had set for them and they were disciplined during doing that. I've had somebody who has come back into running after over a year of taking time off just because life got busy. They have kids now, and they just had a lot of things going on in their life, and they just moved, and they were supposed to run New York City, but they decided to postpone until next year just because life is kind of wild, and I think they're going to get their dissertation now, so that adds even
Hmm.
more stress.
Of course.
So I mean, just being able to learn these stories about why people run, the person that trained for their first half marathon and trained for their first marathon this year at Paris, they had a brain tumor when they were younger,
Hmm.
and they had to have surgeries and things like that. And so now they run for organizations that raise money for this type of treatment and this type of research. Same thing for the woman I'm raising who had breast cancer. She's running for an organization that helps women with breast cancer. Like it's just so incredible to see people who have these stories that get them into this incredibly difficult sport
Hmm.
because I feel like the way that I kind of describe it is they know what they're capable of because of what they've been through, and now they want to show other people.
Yeah.
And they also want to inspire those other people who are either in the same position that they were in when they needed to have treatment or where they used to be in terms of like maybe their physicality or just their health in general to now, wanting to let them know if I can go from this where you are right now, you can get through what you're going through because I'm going into this kind of realm now, which is just as, if not, it is obviously it's not as difficult as like the treatment they're going through, but it is still very, very, very difficult to accomplish. And it inspires me to go out there and do my best when it comes to my running because there are many days where I don't want to run. And I ran Boston in April, and that was not the best race for me because I had had a baby in January, and my
Hmm.
training program for like 4 months got thrown out the window because I had to kind of try to balance everything with having a baby and work and being on paternity leave and taking care of my wife and then training and everything. But I was still proud after I finished because there's still, you know, so many things that I get to talk about that were successes. And I try to remind myself that, there are so many people out there that want to do what we do, but they
Hmm.
can't for a number
Yeah.
of reasons. And so being able to go out there and do that and try to inspire other people, I think just makes me one of the lucky ones. And it makes me even more lucky now that I get to have these other people kind of do the same thing that I try to do for other people, but they're doing it for me. But they might not even realize it
Hmm.
because they're just going out there and just being like, I just got to go out there and get this run done. But I'm like, you don't understand. I see what you do.
Yeah.
It makes me proud because I'm able to see the growth that you are making, which I'm not able to see the growth that I make a lot of times just because I'm so in my own head, and I know that's probably how they are too.
Hmm.
But being on the outside looking in now, I'm kind of being like, oh wow, like I can see what you're doing, and it allows me to see in them what I'm not able to see in myself.
Well, that's and there's a lot of I know that feeling too because um running's not it's mental. It's we had this conversation once, is it mental, physical? And it's both, obviously, and you gotta be physically able to do it. Mentally, sometimes it's just brutal. Like you get
Oh
up,
yeah.
it's like for me, sometimes I'm kind of going in this funk right now. I was doing really well. I didn't run a marathon since 2013 and off for a long period of time. So I had this like, hey, crazy idea. I want to create a training plan for 15 weeks, not to run a marathon, but to train that it could, right? And I got about, I don't know, 8 weeks in, plantar fasciitis settled me down. I was just like, I got to 11 miles on the weekend. Great. I was feeling it. Had the injury, came back, and now I'm just like in this funk, right? Same thing. And like, I just like want to get up. My brain says go run. And then I like sit and I don't. So now I think I'm going to be really inspired by those conversations. Like, no bullshit, Brian, get your ass out the door. It doesn't have to be funny. Just 20 minutes on the treadmill. Will get you back into it. And that's the thing. It's the consistency showing up, but it's like anything with life. As we get close to wrapping up here in a little bit, we go through this stuff, right? There's days you just don't want to show up for work. There's days you just don't want to, like, I don't want to do anything. And that's okay. The thing is, you get up every day, you get the opportunity to do it. You have the opportunity to run. You have the opportunity to do things with your wife. You have the opportunity to go hang out with your friends, do karaoke. Every day you get this opportunity. I think going through what you've gone through, you have this kind of like new lease on life. And I think I'm going to put it out there that you probably see that as a
Mhm.
reality for you, that every day is like a gift and a gift to run. It's a gift to inspire people. It's a gift to even struggle some days too. Even may not feel like a gift sometimes, but that's the joy of this life thing that we have. And it's best to live it to your fullest. So let me ask you this question. If you could, is there a list to kind of change it up here a little bit since living your life to your fullest? What marathon do you want to run next that you have not done?
So I am getting really big FOMO right now because I've always wanted, let me back up. I lived in Australia for about a month for study abroad when I was in my undergrad. And it was probably one of, if not the most beautiful place I've ever lived. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I've always wanted to go back. It's been like 16 years. And I always told myself I would go back. And then Abbott announced the Sydney Marathon as World Marathon Major number 7. And I was like, okay, now I know I definitely have to go back at some point. But then I started to get messages and see all these people posting about how Abbott was offering them last minute bibs to Sydney this year, which is next month. And I saw so many people I follow being like, I accepted it, I took it. And I'm sitting there like, why can't I afford this? I want to go so bad.
It's
Um,
expensive. Raises are expensive. I haven't
but
done it in a long time, but
my
I don't even
God.
know what it is now. I can't. It's like you taking a mortgage just to go run a race. I used to be like cheap, and
Yeah.
then I think the minute I stopped doing it is during Hurricane Sandy in DC for Marine Corps, and I remember the New York City Marathon got canceled that
Yep.
that week, the same following week, I believe. And I remember the race was like $200. I don't even, or 200 something. And it's like, really? It's like, it's
Yeah.
almost like worse. Like I have
Yeah.
to go put my body through living hell and I gotta pay a lot of money to do it. It's just, it's mentally you think sometimes us runners are
Yeah, my
a bit
credit
cuckoo.
cards are not happy with me right now. But I remind myself, like you said, that it's a gift to be able to do this, and I truly do think that something did die in 2018, and I
Hmm.
think it's the old Mike, and this is me just being able to live the life that I want now. But no, marathons have gotten more expensive. I think New York now, if you're not a member, is over $300.
Jeez.
But Sydney is probably up there for one of the most that I want to run. I definitely want to run Paris one day. There's a couple in Europe that I want to do. Rome is my friend Chris did that, and it was is beautiful with all the scenery. See, I was going to say Tokyo, but Tokyo I've now done twice, and it's probably one of my favorite marathons, and and I would go back every single year if I could run that. So I'd probably say Sydney. Oh wait, there is a marathon. It's either a marathon or a half marathon in Hobbiton in New Zealand. I'm obsessed with Lord of
Ooh,
the
Lord
Rings.
of the Rings. All right.
I think that that's probably number one right now. The other ones are
Noted.
great, but I think just because of the sentimental feeling of what it would be like to run in Hobbiton, I would probably do that the
You
most.
should just put on some of those Hobbit feet and run in 26 miles in the Shire, all right? It's,
Absolutely.
who doesn't love Lord of the Rings? Also, musical theater is another thespian that he did in a while. But, Mike, I wish you, it's been a pleasure having you on. Your story is a wonderful story. Excited to see now. I feel like I need to go sign up for a marathon too. We'll see. I'm gonna pump the brakes, but I feel like tomorrow I need to get my butt outside and do something because there's no excuses. But it's been a pleasure having you on today, and well, maybe we'll see you in Sydney and have you get that off your bucket list.
I would love that. And thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.